it's Megan here from Megan Makes Do, and today I'm going to show you how to make the Ashby hat. Today we're going to be making the toddler size, but I will explain instructions for child and adult size, and you can find all three sizes available for free on my blog. For today's tutorial, you're going to need about 1 skein or up to 190 yards of a worsted weight yarn. Today we're using Vanna's Choice in taupe. You'll also need a tape measure, a size H 5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, and a tapestry needle. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we start crocheting, let's talk about the different kinds of fiber that you can use for the Ashby hat. So the pattern was originally made using Red Heart Amour, which is what I use for the rest of the Ashby collection. And it's a little bit stiffer, and you won't get as much of a stretch in your brim. So my second go round, I used a wool yarn. This is Montana Crochet Grizzly, and you'll see that the band stretches a little bit more, kind of gives a little bit, and then goes back to its original shape. It's a little bit softer, it gives a better drape. Either one works just fine. They both fit great following the instructions of the pattern, but play around with different materials for your hat to see which will work best for you. During the tutorial, I'm going to explain how to get a perfect fit for your hat, no matter what size or what fiber you decide to use. Okay, so to start, we're going to work our brim first, and we're going to work that in small rows. So again, I'm working with Line Brand Vanna's Choice, which is an acrylic worsted weight yarn, and I'm going to start by making a slip knot on my hook. And then for toddler size, I'm just going to chain 8. For child size, you would chain 9. And for adult size, you would chain 10. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I have 8 chains on my hook. And then working into the second chain from the hook, so I'm going to skip this first one and work into the second one. I'm going to single crochet into each chain all the way across. Okay, so there's row 1 of our brim. Then I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and working only into the back loops, I'm going to single crochet all the way across. And we're just going to repeat this second row over and over until we get the right size length for our brim. So just repeat row 2 by chaining 1, turning, and working single crochet into the back loop only of each stitch across. So for toddler size, you'll be working 7 stitches. For child size, you'll be working 8 stitches. And for adult size, you'll be working 10 stitches. And as written in the pattern, if you look on the blog or if you've purchased the PDF version, you will see that each size you continue on for a different amount of rows. And this is going to become the circumference of the hat. So for toddler size, we're gonna do this for 48 rows. I'm gonna do that right now, and then I will show you how to make adjustments in case it's coming out too big or too small. It can easily be adjusted so that you get the perfect fit hat. Okay, so I've just finished working my 48 rows for the toddler size band. And the finished size of the band is going to be about 13 inches before you stretch it. So here we are, we're about 13 inches. Now a typical toddler size head usually is about 17 inches around. And that's probably up to like a 2-year-old, maybe like 1.5, 2-year-old. So you'll see that it's going to stretch quite a bit up to 17 inches. So if I hold the one end and stretch and pull, you'll see it will stretch. And that's the thing about crocheted hats. As you wear them, they will stretch out a bit. So built into the pattern is about 4 inches of negative ease in the brim. So when you're making the child size, you'll probably work up to about 15 inches. That's going to stretch to 19 inches. For the adult size, you're probably going to be around 18 inches, and it's going to stretch up to 22 inches. And as you wear the hat, it will stretch out a little bit more. So if you're wanting to get an exact fit for whoever you're making the hat for, if you measure the circumference of their head, so for example, my son's head is about 19 inches, okay? So maybe I want it to be a little looser. I don't want it to be so tight, or I don't want as much negative ease. I'm going to, work however many rows I need to get it to the right amount that I want. So maybe I want his hat to only have 2 inches of negative ease. I'm going to work my hat up to 17 inches. It's going to stretch to 19. So the sizing in the pattern includes that stretch of the brim, okay? What you want to keep in mind is that the finished length of your brim is going to affect how many stitches you work around the top to work the main body of the hat. And you want that to be a multiple of 3 in order for our block stitch pattern to work. So I've worked my 48 rows. I can make adjustments as I need. If I want it a little bit larger, I'm going to add rows of these single crochets ribbing in the back loop only. I'm going to add rows by a multiple of 3 to make it larger, or I'm going to subtract by multiples of 3 to make it shorter. That way I know the main body of my hat is going to work out. Hopefully that makes sense for you. So now that we've finished our brim, I'm going to go ahead, and what I like to do is I'll chain 1, and then I bring the short ends together, and I want to make sure that I still am getting the same ribbed lines. So what I usually do is then I'll go through the front loop and just slip stitch the ends together. And the reason why I go through the front loop is because then that back loop will show through on this side. And we're just going to slip stitch all the way across. Okay, and then I'm going to turn my brim so the right side is out. Here's my little beginning tail. I'm going to chain 1, and we're going to start working around the edge of our brim, and we're going to be working the body of our hat. So to start, I'm just going to work a single crochet into the end of each row of my brim. So I worked 48 rows. I should have 48 single crochet going around the edge of my brim to start the main body of the hat. And I'm just working into the end of each single crochet row all the way around. Okay, so this is number 48 of my single crochets, and then I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the first one to join. So now I've got a row of single crochet going around the top edge of our brim. Okay, and now we're going to start our block stitch, and we want the block stitch to be the back side of the block stitch to be facing out. So I'm going to chain 3 and then turn, so that way the inside of the hat is facing me. Okay, and then we're going to double crochet into the next stitch, and this is going to become the part of our first block stitch. And then to finish the block stitch, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook back around the double crochet I just made, yarn over and draw up a loop. I'll have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Then I'm going to yarn over again, insert my hook exactly where I did last time around that double crochet, draw up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. I'm going to do that one more time. Yarn over, insert my hook around my double crochet, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So I'll end with 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all of those loops to finish the block stitch. Then I'm going to skip the next stitch and then work another double crochet. Okay, and the reason why we skip is because at the top you'll see right here is our double crochet stitch, and then here's a stitch right here for the rest of our block stitch that takes up 2 stitch spaces. So now I've worked my next double crochet and I'm going to work the next block stitch into the next stitch. So I'm going to double crochet, yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. And the block stitch is a lot like working a double crochet 3 together, but you're just doing it around that post of your double crochet. Skip the next stitch and work a double crochet in the next. And we're just going to continue this all the way around our hat. Oops. So here we are, we're going to work our last set of double crochet and then block stitch. And then we're going to slip stitch to the top of our chain 3 to join our round. Okay, and you'll have 48 total stitches because each block stitch is going to count as 2 stitches. Okay, so for our next round, we're going to chain 1. We're going to turn our hat so the right side is facing us. We're going to single crochet into the same stitch as our join and then each stitch around. This is 46 and 47, and this is where we will work our very last stitch, 48. So you can see that this is like the double crochet post of our very first block stitch. And then we will slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet stitch to join. And then we're just going to repeat these 2 rows over and over until we've completed the right amount of rows to get the height that we want. So I'm going to chain 3 again, turn my work so the wrong side is facing me, and then go ahead and make my very first block stitch of the next row. Skip 1, double crochet, and then block stitch again. And again, we're just going to repeat these 2 rows, a block stitch row and a single crochet row as far as the pattern says to. So I'm going to work my next couple rounds up, and then I will show you how to make adjustments to the height of your hat so that you can get the right amount of slouch that you want for your hat. Or if you don't want any slouch, you can turn it into just a simple beanie. Okay, so here I finished round 13 of my toddler size hat, and if I measure it, you can see that I'm about at 8 inches, which is what we want for a toddler size hat. So I'm gonna go ahead and fasten off. But if you wanted to make your hat a bit more slouchy, you can just keep repeating those rows 2 and 3 until you've reached the desired height of like however much slouch you want your hat to have. Or if you want it to be more beanie size, I would decrease 1 or 2 rounds so that way it's a little bit snugger on your head. So you can get the right fit that you want just by increasing or decreasing the amount of rounds you do. So I fastened off. And then to close up my hat and finish, I'm going to thread a needle onto the end of my yarn. Okay, and then we're gonna fold our hat in half. Okay, so that the seam is in the middle. And I'm gonna take my needle and I'm going to make 1 little stitch here going through both sides of the hat. So that we connect those to the centers of our sides. Okay, so I'm gonna have 2 loops here now. So then I'm going to fold it the other way, basically folding those 2 loops in half and bring the centers of those loops together. And I'm gonna go through that first center stitch I had and through both sides to make those 2 loops come together in the center and do a little stitch. Okay, now I've got 4 loops on the top of my hat, and I usually do like 1 at a time once I get to the 4 loops. But I'm going to go through the center of each of those loops and then bring it into the middle of my hat and make 1 stitch. And then we'll go through the next loop, go through the center of the loop and the center of the hat. And we just repeat that all the way around, bringing the middle of each of those 4 loops together. Okay, so now I'm gonna have 8 little loops. They can be a little bit hard to see, but if you poke your finger up, you should still be able to poke your finger through each one. And what I do is I go around and I go through the center of each of one of those loops and then down into the center of the hat and bring them in to close them up. And then I go find the next one. And I usually bring my needle back up through the center of one of those loops and then right back down into the center of the hat. And I just keep going all the way around until all 8 loops have gotten closed and they're all being brought into the middle of the hat. I think I've got about 2 more loops here. Like I said, they can get a little bit tricky to see as you go, so you kind of have to feel for them too. But as long as you're happy with the closure at the top and everything's nice and secure, even if you were to miss one, your hat would still turn out okay. Okay, I think this is my last one. And bring it down into the middle. Okay, so then you can see that we've closed up the top of our hat. It's all nice and secure. Now you can either totally fasten off here. What I would do is usually tie a knot on the inside and then weave in my ends. Or if you wanted to attach a faux fur pom, I like to attach mine using snaps. So what I would do is usually attach my female side of my snap right here on the top of the hat where all those little bumps have come together, and then attach my snap-on pom. So when you're done, then you just fasten off all of your ends, weave them in, and you'll have a finished Ashby hat. So this was the toddler size hat, which we made to about 8 inches high. For child size, you'll want to make it about 9 inches high, and adult at least 10 inches high, depending on how slouchy you want yours. So that's how you make the Ashby hat. If you're looking for more detailed instructions, the free version of this pattern is available at meganmakesdo.com, as well as a PDF version as well as for sale in my shop. I'll put links in the description, and I hope that you enjoy your new Ashby.